Hello everybody and welcome back to Geeks Wargaming. Once again it's Matt and it's been a while, but hopefully I'll plan on doing a few more of these updates. So new 40k, new army. A lot of us are starting new forces, slow building them up or adding to existing forces that we've got, and over time you'll see those being added to the channel. So now it's my turn. Now anyone that follows the channel will previously have seen my 30k force of Iron Warriors. Now, back in the sands of time, and we're talking Chaos Codex 3.5 edition here, the Dream Codex, I had a 40k army of Iron Warriors. And it was actually that, and then getting into the Horus Heresy background, that made me do the Iron Warriors as a 30k force. So, for me now is the ideal time to look at doing a fresh force, using the last wave of all the new minis that got updated for a 40k Chaos Force. So what I'd like to do now is just go through some of the miniatures that I've started. There's not many, so please bear with me, and I'll just talk through how I built them up, what the idea is and the intent for the army moving forward. So here we have the very humble beginnings of my new 40k Iron Warriors army. As you can see, currently it just consists of a Lord Discordant and 3 of the new Obliterators from the Shadow Spear box. So miniatures wise, I intended to build them up, as you see, just standard, straight out of the box. Painting wise, nice and straightforward really with the Iron Warriors, but trying some new things. So this is just rattle can lead belcher all over. Then the gold itself isn't actually gold at all. It's a coat of the contrast paint, snakebite leather. So one layer of snakebite leather all over that. Then painting some of the other details here, so touching up the lead belcher where I've got a little bit messy, lots of trim, bound to happen. Then my new favourite mix of 1:1:1 ratio of Agrax Shade, Nuln Oil and Lamia Medium. The important part there is to make sure that it doesn't pool anywhere. As you can see, there's lots of little nooks and crannies. So as it's drying, making sure to mop up anyway any excess. And what you'll find then is that with the contrast paint and the wash over the top, it gives you a very good rustic metal gold trim look. Then the final trick to this is using Stormhost Silver and a large makeup brush, a very, very, very light overbrush over the full thing, just catching all the edges. Now things like the black and the red as well, these were also contrast paint. Same for the Demon Flesh, but you'll see that better standing out when we look on the Obliterators. So that's Volupus Pink, Abaddon Black, and I can't remember what the red was to save my life. But yeah, just a little bit of a experiment into mixing contrast paints with the standard traditional, the old school acrylic paints. And there we go, that's the Lord Discordant. Now onto the Obliterators. So currently you only get the 2 poses from the Shadow Spear box. So you get this chap here, with the Gatling cannon on top and the flamer on his other arm. Same process again, sprayed lead belcher, then contrast paint to do the trim, wash, dry brush, then Volupus Pink onto the Demon Flesh at the back here. Once that's dry, another wash just over the flesh areas to give it a little bit of definition, then onto the blacks, the old chevrons, can't do Iron Warriors without chevrons, a little bit of sponge weathering on those chevrons. Now the rust stains, again, that's contrast, that's the Gore-Grunta Fur, 1:1 with the contrast medium, and then just streak down just to give it some rust stains there. As you can see, not a bad finish to be fair. You can get one of these guys knocked out, start to finish, probably on a full day. Just sit down, take your time, work your way through. Second pose, this chap here. Same again. Highlighting some of the plasma this time. The green I find really pops on the colour scheme that I'm using on the Iron Warriors. Same with the pink Demon Flesh. I wasn't sure at first, but because it provides such a contrast to what could be a relatively bland colour scheme otherwise, I find it catches the eye just right. Now, moving forward, what I'd like to do is start playing the Crusade version of 40k. So that's a little bit more storytelling. And as such, units level up, gain battle honours as they get more experience. So I thought, what better way to represent that? One of the battle honours you can get is to increase the stats of your weapons. These weapons on the Obliterators are their flesh metal weapons. So let's go a little bit OTT on what is basically the unit champion. So a mix of the two miniatures here. We've got the body off one with the arm off another. We've transferred the Reaper Punisher cannon there over to one side. We've got a las cannon, which was taken from the Hellbrute kit, and same for this ectoplasma cannon. So whereas on this chappie, he's got the plasma gun on his shoulder, we switched it round. So ye old compensator here with his gigantic plasma weapon, but I just thought it would pop out, stand out quite nicely, be quite characterful for having an Iron Warriors champion model infected with the Obliterator virus. Let us know what you think below. So moving forward with this force, because I want it to be a little bit more characterful and following a Crusade game, having a theme, I like the idea of the Obliterator virus or varying subcategories of said virus affecting not just the Obliterators, the Mutilators, Cult of Destruction models, but you can see some of that aesthetic as well in the Demon engines with the demon flesh and the melding of the man and machine. The Hellbrute, the current sculpt of the Hellbrute looks like a bigger version of the Obliterators. So looking through what I could do to represent there, and where I want to go next is, so I've got the basic troops. I've got 30 cultists already painted, but that was from an old army, but they slot in quite nicely. Is using the relics from Psychic Awakening. There is one called Insidium. Now Insidium in the fluff, the little spiel that you get there, is a like a demon exoskeleton that the bearer dons it, and then over time the two meld together. Now when you look at what that actually gives you in game, it increases that model's stats by +1 strength, +1 toughness, gives them the demon keyword, +1 wound as well, I believe it is, something like that. Which puts, let's say, now hear me out, if you put that onto a Chaos Lord in Terminator armour, who's already rocking a 2+ save and a 4+ demonic invulnerable, his stat line looks very similar to an Obliterator's. So where I'm thinking at the moment is, okay, let's have a Chaos Lord in Terminator armour, but base it off of one of the new Obliterator sculpts. So yeah, he's going to be a bit of a chunky boy, but he's got this Insidium, so that's, he's swelled with power, it's giving him this extra toughness, and that's represented by him being, like I say, chunk, dunk. Weapons wise, Chain Fist, probably a Combi Melter or a Combi Plasma. So I want him to sit almost as a halfway house between an Obliterator and a Mutilator. So almost the unifying factor of your Cult of Destruction models, which I think, depending if I can pull it off, would look pretty damn good. And then that will then spiral out into the rest of the army. Defilers now, there's a lot of chatter on a lot of the Chaos Marine forums. Defilers suddenly have a power boost, not necessarily because they've been buffed, but because of the changes to the rules, they get an advantage. So being able to move with no penalty to firing heavy weapons, and then in combat, being able to shoot with your weapons. So Defilers always filled this weird niche previously that if you wanted a demon engine that would shoot, you would take Decimators or a Forge Fiend. If you wanted a demon engine that was combat based, you take a Mauler Fiend. And the Defiler kind of sat in the middle. It was okay at shooting and it was okay at combat, but as soon as you tried to move to use your combat ability, well, you've got a battle cannon and you're hitting on 5s all of a sudden. So tag that in with things like the Lord Discordant with the +1 to hit. You suddenly got a Defiler that can move up the board as a group of monsters, backed up by the Lord Discordant, hitting on 3s. Then gets into combat, does all his stuff in combat, and still shoots away as well. Blammo. Obviously not with a battle cannon in combat because that's blast, but yeah, everything else you've taken. Back it up with, like I said earlier, the new character that I'm working on, whose Warlord trait is probably going to be Demon Smith, which, for obvious reasons, is going to be with a bunch of demon engines. It's going to be with a bunch of Marines that are infected with the Obliterator virus and are therefore demonic themselves. Nice aura of exploding 6s, which works not just in shooting phase. You see it a lot with obliterators already. 6s to hit, double hits, yes please, we'll have those. But it also works in combat. So suddenly you're taking this poor, unloved Defiler model and maxing it out now in the shooting phase, in the combat phase, so on and so forth. And points wise, pretty cheap as well, at least until things get redone again, which we'll see in a couple of weeks' time. So yeah, first thing is first, I'm going to work on this Obliterator Cult of Destruction Chaos Lord. Then I'm thinking a bit of a mashup model-wise. The old Defiler model hasn't aged well, doesn't look as nice as, it doesn't have the same aesthetic as the current range of Demon engines, so the melding of the flesh and the machine and the change between those. So I'm probably going to do something new there, thinking potentially between a Venom Crawler, a Mauler Fiend and a Hellbrute. So it's not going to be cheap and it's not going to be easy. Bear with me, we'll see. So what are you guys working on at the current? New edition, new army? Let us know below. And as always, to support the channel and help us to grow, please subscribe, like the video, and if you do subscribe, hit the little bell button so you get notifications. Thank you very much guys, and hopefully you'll see the Iron Warriors laying siege to the battlefields on a table near you soon. Take care guys, bye.